So, Infinite Souls, I was supposed to have been on a radio show today speaking about consciousness and the associated questions that go along with that. As it happened, that fell through, and I'm told it's postponed till a later date. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, we still have to get a message out there. So, I figured the message matters more than the medium. So, here it is. What is consciousness? In our physical lives, if you're conscious, you're awake. And means your senses are able to work and you can interpret those in your brain. So what you smell, you'll know what it is. What you touch, you know, hear, and so forth. That makes perfect sense. That's how we operate. Consciousness on a spiritual level is the same thing but in a different sphere. It's being aware of your vibrational state, how you are feeling at any point, and from there directing your actions accordingly. This is an invaluable tool because this doesn't come from the manufacturer of the mind. This is soul and spirit communicating through you, with you, to direct you. Think of it as a conversation with your soul. When you get that gut feeling in the pit of your stomach and you know something's not right, we call it intuition. That's linked to your level of consciousness as well and where you're pinging from. Now, just like a light spectrum, white light goes through a prism and gets split into different colors in the spectrum sphere, so does our vibrations. We resonate at different frequencies, from low frequencies of 200 hertz thereabouts to very elevated frequencies of 900, 1000 hertz. Now, what this means is, very simply, the lower frequencies that we vibrate at are indicative of the emotional state that we find ourselves in, or how we're interpreting something that's going on. Fear being one of the lowest vibrational states, with shame and anger and things like that following nearby. But as we elevate towards our heart centers, we find that there's an equilibrium point, a balance point that happens where we actually start moving into the positives of our spiritual bank account. That being said, from those places and above, that is where we can direct our intentions, thoughts, and actions towards purpose-driven activities. We are no longer the responder, but we are the creator. And in order to get to such places, we need to do some work on ourselves. We need to go back and figure where the fears come from, where the hurts come from, where the feelings of shame come from, and tackle them and analyze them and release them and replace them with something of a vibration that is more keeping in who we want to be. Very simply put, that's what it is. The magical thing about this is it is not beyond any human being on this planet. I repeat, it is not beyond any human being on this planet, regardless of your social stature, your level of education, physical size, power. None of that matters, because this is a 100% self-generated. That is why we can, from this space, break away from the confines of spiritual life, of physical life, and the things we regard as important to be worthy, and elevate ourselves so that we live from a place of worthiness and draw to ourselves what resonates with that. That would be people, opportunities, so-called chance meetings that are divinely orchestrated, that we call to ourselves because that furthers our highest purpose. Now, this is a place of peace. This is a place where you are in control, so there ain't nobody else to blame if things go awry and you respond differently, because in everything we have a choice. We have a choice how to respond to any given situation. We take it in, we process it, and then we present our response. Often in physical life, the ego takes over, and we will then respond from places of ego and anger and feeling unsafe. That is why tools like the pause are very important. Because if you reach that level of vibration and you are able to step back and defeat the urge to respond to make a point, or protect yourself, your ego, fragile ego, you are taking a huge amount of power and energy, and you are depositing it into the positive section of your life, the feel good section, because that is what happens. It is a commodity. Your energy is a commodity. Now we become aware of how we're going to use that energy, where we're going to place it in our daily lives. How is it going to further my purpose being here? And that's another thing that we find, that we uncover within ourselves. I see it all the time. People have been existing for so long that they have forgotten how to be. We've divorced ourselves so much away from our spirit that we regard ourselves as just these physical beings. And nothing's further from the truth, because this physical being has an expiry date. If we're lucky, we make it to 80, maybe a bit more. That's 80 years in a life cycle of a planet that is 14 billion years. That is inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. So when we put that into perspective, we realize that we are here for a very short period of time, and we have stuff to accomplish in that time before this body checks out and our souls return to their divine source, and from there be directed however. Because the constant goal of this hasn't changed. It's about expansion. It's about freeing oneself individually, which the ripple effect is to those that touch us. And we then have an influence through our energy over other people's energies. And we have a choice at that point where we're either going to raise those energies or we're going to lower them. That's your responsibility. You walk into a room, your attitude is going to determine how you are received. I'm sure all of us have had this experience where we've met somebody or walked into a room and the energy was just heavy, unwelcoming. You knew something was wrong without anybody saying it. Where do you think that comes from? That's your consciousness speaking to you. You're picking up all the waves. Now, that was the how. This is how we put the why into place of why am I placed in this position and what can I do about it? When we start looking at life from how is life happening for me as opposed to me, every situation can be flipped around to your benefit. You know, the situation today with me and this interview, I was looking forward to it. It's cool. So I'll get this message later on and okay, that's cool too. But what's the important thing? The important thing is the message. It's the connection. Because if this is how it's got to be, this is how it's got to be. I can do what I can do with what I have. And this is what I have. So the message can still go out. Folks can still be reached. That's the reframing of any given situation. You know that old adage, when life gives you lemons? I just made some lemonade. So that is the kind of thing that can happen, and it can be really taken to every single aspect of life. When we live from a place of consciousness, we live from a place of authenticity. And in getting to that place of authenticity, there's some unpacking that has to happen. And what needs to be unpacked is found in that place of consciousness. So it's a win, 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 win. So there we are. At every point we placed at at a decision-making position. How am I going to respond, and what is the effect that this is going to have on my energy, on my vibration? Because the grand prize is we want to ping as high as possible. Can you imagine 8 billion people that are happy and fulfilled and at peace? Do you think there'd be a war anywhere in the world? Do you think there'd be starvation? That there'd be the haves and the have-nots? No, your psyche, your being will not allow that. So that's how we change the world. We change ourselves. And the ripple effect to those around us, immediately, our families. And if you have children, those kids get up every day and they go to school and they're interacting with another 30 odd people. So there's give and takes all the time. How can you actively change the vibration that exists around you? That's the question. And the answer is simpler than anything you could have imagined. It all starts with a decision. You might be making many of them in a day, but they all count. And as you raise your vibration, momentum grows, and we transverse the barriers until we get to places of creation, places of co-creation, where we call in. You've all heard of manifestation. This is what it's about. It's not about repeating the words 100 times when you don't believe it. You gotta believe it. And in order to believe it, you have to be conscious of everything that's around you and everything that's happening to you. I think that's it for now. I would have taken questions if I was on the radio. I'll happily take them now. Pop them in the comments. Let's get this discussion going. Because I'm sure that you're sick and tired of just existing, just surviving. It's time to thrive. And our spirits can thrive just like our physical lives. Peace to you all. Let me know how I can help. Dev.